There's a moment after silence that most people can't handle, when someone pulls away, ignores you, or even decides to walk out of your life. The natural reaction is to break the silence, to text them, call them, explain yourself, fight for their attention. It feels like the silence is suffocating you. But here's the thing. The silence is not your enemy. The silence is your weapon, because silence creates space. And in that space, people begin to see the truth. They notice what's missing. They realize what they took for granted. They feel the absence of the energy you used to bring. But this only works if you do something powerful after the silence. You transform. Most people stay frozen. They use silence as a waiting game, hoping the other person will return. But the Stoic approach is different. Instead of waiting, you rise. You use the silence not to sit in pain, but to sharpen yourself. You rebuild your focus, your health, your habits, your purpose. You don't post to prove something. You live in a way that proves everything. And soon, the same person who thought walking away was easy starts to feel the weight of what they lost. Picture this. They expect you to chase. They expect you to beg. They expect you to show weakness. But instead they see you calmer, stronger, moving forward with dignity. You don't lash out. You don't gossip. You don't collapse. You rise in silence, and then you act with discipline. That's when regret creeps in. Because nothing stings more than realizing the person you left behind became better without you. This is the essence of mindful Stoicism. You don't control their choices, you only control your response. And when your response is strength instead of desperation, calm instead of chaos, self-growth instead of self-pity, you become unforgettable. The silence unsettles them because it breaks the pattern. They were used to you responding instantly, always being available, always ready to fix things. And when that disappears, when your voice is no longer echoing in their world, they start to notice the emptiness. At first, they might distract themselves, convince themselves they're fine. But slowly, silence grows heavier than words. And then they see what you've done with it. You didn't waste that time scrolling through their social media or waiting by your phone. You invested it in yourself. You improved your body. You focused on your goals. You built new habits. You started living with purpose. That shift doesn't need to be announced. It's obvious in your presence, your energy, your composure. You've become stronger, sharper, more grounded. This is what Stoics knew well. The best revenge is not anger, not retaliation, but indifference, paired with self-mastery. By refusing to let their absence break you, you prove that your peace is not something anyone can take. And that's when regret takes root. Because they see they lost someone who cannot be shaken. They expected you to crumble, but instead you built yourself into someone even they can't ignore. They may try to re-enter your life, but now the balance has shifted. You're not the one seeking approval anymore. They are. And whether you let them back or not, they'll know deep down they lost something rare. A person who could love deeply, yet stand tall alone. That's the quiet power of silence, followed by transformation. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't plead. It simply shows, and in showing, it speaks louder than any words could. Regret is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive all at once. It builds slowly, like water filling a cup. At first, they may brush off your absence. thinking they've moved on. But each day that passes without your presence, without your energy, without the stability you gave them, the weight grows heavier. They begin to replay old memories, not because they want to, but because the silence forces them to reflect. And reflection is powerful, especially when paired with loss. Here's where your discipline matters most. The Stoics would remind you, do not break the silence to prove a point. Do not post just to spark jealousy. Do not return to old patterns of seeking their attention. Instead, let your actions create the contrast. Every time they see you, hear about you, or cross paths with you, the difference will be undeniable. You are no longer the same person they thought they could walk away from. You are better. And that realization hurts them more than anything you could have said. Words can be denied, but growth cannot. Silence gave you the space to transform, and now your presence makes the statement. That's when they regret losing you, because they see you've mastered something they haven't. Control over yourself. The beauty of mindful stoicism is that it isn't about revenge. It's about rising above. You don't grow stronger despite them. You grow stronger because life demands it. You don't move forward to prove them wrong. You move forward because your purpose is bigger than their opinion. Yet, in doing so, you inevitably prove them wrong anyway. That's why regret lingers with them. It's not that you punished them, it's that you left them behind simply by refusing to stop growing. In the end, the silence becomes their teacher, and you become living proof that the one who can walk alone with dignity is the one who never truly loses. And so, the silence that once felt like emptiness turns out to be your greatest ally. It forced you to stop chasing, it pushed you to look inward, and it gave you the space to rebuild yourself into someone unshakable. That is the power of choosing stillness over noise, patience over reaction, and growth over desperation. The truth is, people don't regret losing someone because of words spoken in anger or endless attempts to win them back. They regret it when the person they once overlooked becomes undeniably stronger, calmer, and more radiant without them. They regret it when they realize that silence didn't break you, it built you. Mindful stoicism teaches us that we can't control who stays or who leaves. We can't control their choices, but we can always control how we respond. And when your response is to rise in silence, to transform instead of collapse, you shift the balance forever. So let them wonder, let them remember, let them regret, because by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be far ahead, walking with purpose, grounded in peace, and no longer needing the validation of anyone who couldn't see your worth from the beginning. In silence, you didn't lose, you found yourself, and that is something no one can ever take away.